it's very, very important to, first of all, commend Mr. President for taking the budget in good time to the National Assembly. You are witness to the practice in the past when you have budgets being presented, have like second quarter, first quarter of the preceding year, which the budget is supposed to service. So with this early presentation, so to speak, is early, I think it's a commendable step. But having said that, borrowing to finance budgets is not what it should be, particularly when we have some other areas that we can latch on to source such fund. You are quite aware that our people say that when you go borrowing, you go sorrowing. So on that basis, we could as well look for other sources. For instance, some crop of economists have said that, okay, why not sell some moribund assets, which I subscribe to. Secondly, you have some people that you can ask to give you money. People who have stolen government money and they are not in short supply. But, we will not mention names anyway.
But people, when you want to talk about stolen money, that has to be confirmed by a law court. They are taking more than
what you should take.
Yes.
For instance, there are agencies that have issues of corruption, alleged corruption, mind-blowing ones for that matter. You have NIMASA, you have NPA. These are people that you should tighten the nose on, that they should formit whatever it is that they have taken, and you can use that. We have the case of the National Theatre that we have been talking about all this while, that it can be, as well be sold so that you can get money to fund this. Then you think about even the lifestyle of this, the volume and the size of government that is ballooning every time. You can look inward and take that off the shoulder of the people so that you can free the Commonwealth, use that to fund the budget instead of going and borrowing every time.
Okay, all right. Tawhid, in this budget, one other critical element that Mr. President highlighted was the fact that defense and internal security are given a larger chunk of this budget. Do you consider this necessary while you view other aspects of the budget?
And that is not strange, it's not new. For decades now, it is a practice that they have inherited from the military. They will give defense bogus portion of the budget. Of course, there could be justification now that we have serious insurgents and all these security challenges. But that, for me, is not the way forward. There are other sections of the nation that are really suffering. More importantly, when you see the way these funds are being, misused, you want to actually ask some questions. Look at the kind of money, the billions of money that have been injected into defense, yet Boko Haram is still there. These security challenges are still everywhere, meaning that the resources that they have put in over time cannot be justified. So for me, it is food for the police.
Okay. With your thoughts right now on that aspect of the presentation that the president, did yesterday, some persons have also said the basic reason why the fundamental problems we have are largely based on the fact that government at different stages have not been responsive. That's why there's large, chunk of security situations, insecurity and all of that across the country. So are you saying that the government or the president should have considered, working on how, or considered investing more or budgeting more for the aspect of the country that actually had to do with, that actually need something or had something to do with, taking care of people at the grassroots level at different times?
I think I get you right. You see, security, some years back, the situation is not like this. So the question is, what has brought us to this stage? Definitely, you can't shy away from the state of economy. Insurgents, insecurity, all of them are product of economic decadence. So what I mean is that we should shift attention to productive aspects, to things that can generate employment, so that the ant is no longer idle and it cannot be a devil's workshop. Okay? So my thinking is that government has a lot to do in the areas of providing economic security, which can only come in form of employment. Of course, a school of thought says that government should have no business in the economy. I agree. Let them give us enabling laws that would look at the way we have had exodus of companies from Nigeria because infrastructures are not there. There are a lot of factors that go with the economy. I put it to you, if we don't have electricity regular, we can't get economy right. Even the weather, a lot of them need this. It's not as if we need big ones, but small entrepreneurs, okay? How do we encourage them? This money, how does it, no facilities, even when there are, look at the interest. So the government needs to do more, and I think we have had a problem in Nigeria. The problem is the quality of leadership. Sometimes you begin to wonder, how do they come, on a round table and the kind of policy they would, dish out. You begin to doubt the rationale behind all these things.
Their decisions.
Their decisions.
Okay. All right, let me put that question to you. You obviously said you're not a subscriber to the borrowing plan of the president and of this administration, and the president has also come out to defend that position that whatever it is that they are borrowing money for, there are things we could see. If you want evidence of what they're using money they borrowed for, the things are there. So how do you look at that when the president says things of that nature?
Maybe because the presidency has not listed those things for us to see. That is why we have not seen those things. But I think we need to do much more than trying to cherry pick. What the presidency is saying amounts to cherry picking, in my observation. What are the things? What are the infrastructure that we're talking about here? The governor of Ogun State once said that 90% of federal government roads in Ogun State are in very terrible condition, and you and I are witnesses to this. So what are those things that we are talking about? The rail line from Lagos to Ibadan, at what cost? At what cost? When we have double that in Ethiopia, and it's coming at a much lesser cost. These are corruption costs. So what are we talking about here? Where are the things? And besides, you need to build human capacity before you begin to build infrastructure. Because our people will say, the reason why there is so much poverty and deprivation in the land, that you have people tampering with even rail gauge and destroying this infrastructure, is because there is poverty in the land. There has to be stomach infrastructure first. Empower the people. Let there be capacity building across board. Let the small and medium scale industries, let them thrive. It is when that happens that you can begin to say, okay, people will be the one to be monitoring even the investment you claimed you to be doing in infrastructure.
But before we move on to another topic, on this budgetary provision, I want to believe that it is not all that negative trend. Is there any hope? And considering the fact that each year in, year out, we always have our budgets increasing in figures. last year it was not 16.39. I think it was about 14 point something last year. Now it's 16. It keeps on increasing, and yet we don't seem to really be getting it. I mean, those on the grassroots are not feeling it. But this time, the Mr. President is already saying is to consolidate on various infrastructural ongoing projects. Are we seeing silver lining at the end of the tunnel?
I don't see it.
Maybe you are not looking.
No, it is not that the budget will not have its own positive side.
Okay.
But you have said it all. It is figures that we see and read on papers every day. The truth of the matter is that we have lost sincerity of purpose in governance. And honestly, I don't want to say this on air, but I don't know. I've lost hope. I don't know. I am one of the people that have lost hope. You see, budget is a projection.
Yeah.
We always a projection. Ab initio, we have had a failed budget. If it is a projection and you are starting with borrowing, are you with me?
Yeah.
It means servicing the debt should be a consideration. Whereas what should be is that what I have should be what I'm going to spend. That is prudency. So ab initio, that budget is not on the platform of prudency. I don't see it.
We are spending more than what we can.
More than what we can.
Okay. Well, all the same, like Shegun said earlier on, that we must commend Mr. President for at least bringing up the budget early in the year. At least we have almost 3 clear months before the year runs out. Let's hope the National Assembly...
And Katie, there is hope in the horizon.
Okay.
If we can do things differently from the way you are doing it, because you can't be doing the same thing same way and expect different results. If we can approach the temple of justice, equity and fairness and love for one another, that love is very, very paramount. If we can be sincere with ourselves for once, there is hope. They can just reverse this thing if they can talk to themselves.
Added to that.
Talk to themselves. I want us to look at, okay, please make your...
Added to that,
Yes.
just to corroborate what you just said, we have systems on the ground, but those systems are not working.
Are not functional.
They are not functional.
So it's about implementation.
It's about our system.
Political will.
To do things the way they ought to do without bothering whose earth is God. We have had sacred cows, too many in this country. And these are
Okay,
they are
sacred cows. And that will lead us to this next topical issue in the week. And that has to do with Anambra, the security situation in Anambra, that Malam Malami, he said the likelihood of state of emergency. But the governor rushed down to the presidency, met with, and the president told him that, no, look, I am not aware of that one. Where does this kind of situation leave us? When the chief law officer of the country is talking about a state of emergency, even without clearance from the president, because that's what it means. The governor went to the president and he said no. Now, how do you see such a news report?
It has given a picture of that home, and the home now, I mean the government at the center. It has also given a picture of our system. And what's the picture? The picture is that there is always a cabal, and that even the man that should take control is not in control. For example, how would you say something as sensitive as possibility of declaring state of emergency without clearance from the president? When the president saying he doesn't know anything about it exposes a lot of things. It even called to question. Exposes a lot of things about it.
Okay, with that same question of state of emergency, that the Attorney General of the Federation, talked about. What exactly is it? What stage is it that a state will get to, a country will get to before the declaration of a state of emergency?
I think lawyers should know better than we do. I'm not one.
Okay.
But I do know that when there is a total breakdown of law and order, that nobody is safe again. That is one of the things that can lead to the declaration of a state of emergency. And the way we were seeing it, and we still keep seeing it in Anambra and certain areas in the south-south region. But I say this, there had been, and there still is anyway, worst and extreme cases in other places, and nothing seems to have happened.
Yeah,
you have all of them. We know them by the tip of our fingers. But the governor that ran to the presidency, again, Obiano, right? What did he do when there was mayhem and breakdown of law and order, when IPOB was declaring sit at home, stay at home, and they didn't allow pupils to go and write WAEC exam? What did the governor do? He didn't do anything because, why? His interest and those of his co-travelers, the political elites, were not at stake. But this is election. Their cup of tea. Somebody wants to put sound in their cup of tea now. So he ran to the presidency. Why didn't he do same? Why didn't he mobilize and talk to others, to his colleagues there, so that they can maintain decorum in that region?
So, some actually said, after the Attorney General's comment, that this, in a way, might be a wake-up call for the governors in the South-East and South. Because of that threat that comes, it means it's a possibility that could happen. And the persons that, ventilate this kind of position says, okay, maybe that's why, that might be a reason why IPOB might seize this act that continues to take place in their region.
If that happens, that would be fine. That would be fine. Let's just have peace all over. If we have peace all over, there will be development. We can't develop in an atmosphere of rancor and bloodletting. So if we have peace all over, why not?
Well, when we look at this statement coming from the Attorney General of the Federation, and eventually we discovered that it has no backing of the president. Yeah, as a veteran journalist, how will you see this kind of news reports? When you see the other side, how do you feel with this kind of situation?
This is not the first time we are seeing that. Obviously there is a disconnect between the principal and the subordinates there. This is not the first time we'll be seeing such things. But I think there has to be a rule of engagement. Okay. On what basis were the staff of the presidency engaged? What were the things they assented to before getting that office? If there has to be sanction for some infractions. You cannot just say anything and get away with it. Particularly, it shows that nobody is in charge. A state of anarchy in a civilian setup, not necessarily taking up arms now. Okay. But when there is confusion, it's a state of anarchy on its own at that level of governance, and it's worrisome.
And some social commentators and analysts are also saying that there are some members of the federal cabinet that are unto themselves small presidents. And that's why one could say that they will probably declare state of emergency in a state where they were elected. And we also hear some other people. One of our colleagues in the presidency, in recent time we have not really been hearing too much of him. That's one of the essays to the president on communication, Alam Shehu Garba. A lot of times he has ruled out some purported directives or information from president, and eventually we get something else. All of this, what kind of picture is it giving you about?
I have told you that, like my brother said, there's a disconnect.
Okay.
We have strong cabal, very strong one.
Yeah, but can you rule in a civilian setting without a cabal?
No, you can't. But there has to be an operating word. What is it? that thing has not been well defined. What constitutes national interest?
Okay.
Has not been well defined in our political system. You know, a cabal should be a think tank to a very good government. Eggheads, it should be a collection of eggheads, those who would have progressive mind. Let me say this. There seems to be different interests, some personal, now some regional. Some people are talking to protect their own section at the expense of the other. But if we still want to keep the entity called Nigeria, we have to redefine national interest. Don't forget, when they talk, they will say it is the national interest, Abi, and there has not been a clear-cut definition of what should be national, which will make me to act even against my intention, because I have to pursue national interest. You know, we should be policy and principle oriented. We have not gotten it, and that is why it will take us. I don't see us getting out of the rules. I'm sorry.
Okay, so some people have actually said, you know, in the course of discussing something of this nature, they talk about ethnic politics. That's what we still practice in Nigeria. And a lot of people will allude to the fact that the president himself, you know, the body language, they often times talk about the body language of Mr. President, and recently in the national broadcast of the president, and he mentioned Sunday Igboho, he mentioned Nnamdi Kanu, and some are saying that, is that why some of his aides have the effrontery to also come and talk to Nigerians, especially from other parts of the country, from the north that are not northerners? Is that why the aides, like you've mentioned, Gabriel Shehu, you have the Attorney General now saying something. Is that why they have that, you know, audacity to say something that the president himself has not said? Is it because the president's body language is tilted towards their own direction, or what?
They might not be wrong. We have seen it. It is because we will not want to say some things. The truth of the matter is that we have not had it so bad in Nigeria. Baba Obasanjo ruled, and to a greater extent, you will give it to him that he had always presented himself as
a nationalist.
Yeah, yeah, we are not seeing it. We are not seeing it.
But this picture of nationalists in Baba also led to some Southwesterners, you know, blaming him for some
I also blame him.
Okay.
It is unlawful to be lawful in a lawless situation.
you do further analysis of that.
You see, because you see, we all study political games in Nigeria.
Okay.
But it is this. It's not because I'm a Yoruba person. No, it is only a Yoruba man that will be liberal, that will look at issues.
Okay.
And not
with national interest.
With interest, with at least with a good sense of objectivity. This time now.
Okay.
Sometimes in Yoruba land you don't want to. Sometimes if someone buys you pity.
Yeah.
We don't pamper. We are sometimes dispassionate. In government, you have to be dispassionate because you are there in trust for others. The resources has to go around. It is all about the money. You know, you must be fair. It talks about fairness, justice, and equity. That is where we got it wrong. And I think they should introduce something in school. Sorry, let me say this. There should be a subject to be called honesty. How curriculum developers will do that, I don't know.
Well, but they have citizenship education.
It is talking about, it is not, you know, the point is that we have lost our bearing because an average Nigerian is no longer honest to himself, to the wife, to the family, not to talk of to the state. Give anybody appointment, you say, opportunity, Lori, boy. You know, I wonder what opportunity, what is the opportunity?
And then the demand will now start rolling in.
Something bothered me recently. And what is it? I got to somewhere announcing This was a Kankantua house built by Chief Abiola. He didn't finish it before he died. You remember that house?
Yes.
That house has been bought by somebody. So where is life? Where are we going? So the leaders have failed to put the interest of citizens at heart. And that is why we are seeing this kind of insecurity. They have failed. When they come on board to solicit for food, it is not because they have something spectacular. Go and look at it. Why would you be so desperate? I have to be there. Citizens have not been given the opportunity. There is no merit even in appointments. What we're going to know is that sometimes it is your CV that speaks for you. When we were very young, a professor will just hear his name on the radio. He's been appointed. Then he will serve. But where you have to lobby to be a commissioner. If the governor says, shut up, you will shut up now. I can never be a commissioner by the grace of God. Because somebody just says, shut up. I will decide the following day. Shut up for what?
I think that's a very instructive comment from our guest, and of course, I would like you to also react to that with respect to where we need to be as a people and where we've been, as a people. And 2023 is around the corner. I talked about the politicians that come every 4 years to solicit vote. And then the people are also, looking out for what to get from me. He talked about interest. How do we evolve from that stage where the politicians come to look for interest or to protect their interest, and the people also want to protect their interest? How do we evolve from that stage to a stage where we'll be able to have a nationalist or nationalist in power?
The recruitment process is what we need to look into very critically. How do we recruit leadership in Nigeria? Is it on a rotational basis? Is it on the basis of merit? When the argument is convenient for people, they will say, okay, let's rotate. When it's not politically expedient for them, they will say
it is
undemocratic. So we are not a sincere group of people. Until we are very much sincere with ourselves, we won't be going anywhere. We'll just be moving in circles. So to that extent, we have a whole lot to do, a whole lot. We are talking of 2023, when we should be talking of how to restructure the nation. Restructuring is very key than 2020. If we talk about 2023 the way we are talking about it, we are just papering over the problems, looking for shortcuts. Because there are fundamental issues that we need to address. The issue of who takes what is it that is coming from your end? What are you putting on the table to be shared? If we don't address all of this, 2023, we are just postponing the evil days when we say we are going to have elections. Look at some certain set of people, we say sit at home, and that will be...
people will obey.
People will obey. Isn't that government within government? Some people will go somewhere, they will host flags of ISIS, of ISWAP, and all manner of things. They say 500 communities in a state in Nigeria being governed by the fundamentalists, the terrorists that we prefer to call bandits. And yet you tell me that somebody is in charge. You are talking of election. It's fine to have election, but we cannot have election except we talk. 1954. Chief Abiokuta said we should put this secessionist thing in the constitution. He argued his case using the USSR and the Western Australian matter to buttress his point. The same people who are clamoring for sit at home now, they were the people, their leader then was the guy who said, okay, we cannot have secession clause inserted into the constitution when they were reviewing the constitution. The man was clairvoyant enough to see that a Nigeria will come that will be like this. That was why he was insisting that, okay, we should have a secession clause inserted into the constitution.
But it's the same person that some of these Easterners are still blaming about the failure of Biafra and all of that when they now wanted to secede.
They will have
That's an irony of life. Anyway, let's move on with. I think it's clear that Malami has not actually done well with that idea. Okay. Now, there's another one major topic, at least in recent times. The court jailed the son of what is his name now? The son of Maina, Faisal. Though 24 years, but cumulatively, concurrently, he will spend 14 years for money laundering and all of that. It's not around, but that judgment was actually delivered. Does this news item give you any hope in Nigeria's fight against corruption?
No. No, because no and yes. I'll say no. I'll say yes. You said it's not around.
Yeah, the son is not around.
It's not around.
I think it's the father that that they have been bringing to court, and the father is the person who was really in that pensions.
Was the one sending money into the
son's account.
Can you see that there's no hope?
and the son is not in Nigeria.
It's not in Nigeria, and jail time has been slammed on him. Where will you see serving it? Where he is? You see, and if it were to be another for other people, somebody would have said that the son should be extradited. Am I right? They will have used all the instruments of law to bring him down to face the music. So that shows that we still have a lot to reform in the judicial sector. But be that as it may, the case is directly linked to the father. Am I right?
Yes.
And the law is also saying nothing about it. Ajepola, somebody who stole, should not be there. So that judgment has not looked. You can't blame the judiciary. I'm not saying what they have done is wrong, but there should be an holistic approach to that matter, and that also exposes so many things about Nigeria. This is Nigeria where you have multiple standards. We have not gotten it right because we have not changed our act. All of us want to go to heaven, but we don't want to die. We want better Nigeria. We are not changing our deeds. We are not changing our act. Everybody. And I blame the leadership. We were here in Nigeria in the 80s when the government of this General Buhari and we say, don't do this, and we dare not do it. That shows to tell us that leadership is key. So this judgment for me is I don't know, it's not good enough because we have seen the lacuna.
So when you look in general into the fight against corruption of this present administration, what do you see?
It has.
Apart from
it's like it's unlike the normal judicial system. When you go to court, you see the justice scale,
yes.
And it closes the eyes with the scale, meaning that it doesn't want to see anybody, doesn't want to know you. Okay, in Nigeria, this is how our justice scale is like this. He sees Obasanjo, says you can go. Beat him. Sure, you understand. And that is also still talking about some fundamental problems that is affecting us. What are these problems? Let us have fairness, justice, and equity. Let it be the bedrock.
Okay, for you, justice is one thing we clamor for, and you look at the structure of the country. The moment somebody is from the south and that person has done something terrible to the state, you see leaders coming from that part, or probably from the north. I'm just using it as an example. From the north, you see leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, rallying around that person and go to the center to say, he's our child, there's nothing we can do at this stage. You have to tamper justice with mercy at this stage. If we continue to have that rotation of if it is our turn or it's our child, we can go and solicit for the person, on behalf of the person at the center. How then do we want to have justice in Nigeria?
We can't have justice in Nigeria when if we continue that way. But I pray we change our ways. It has always been the norm. The case of is our own, is untouchable. Why is that so? The leaders, political leaders, they have so much entrenched poverty that even when they are not giving you, don't be surprised that most of the people that are clamoring for or being part of the Is Our Son crowd, they are not enjoying anything from the man. But they just like to identify that he's from my town, he's a religious person. We worship in the same church. We have seen that a couple of times. Some people are not benefiting anything from their political leaders, yet they keep on dying for the person. Why? Because they are from the same area. They worship, they profess the same religion and all of that. We should stop all that sentiment. See, if we don't engage in stiffer sanctions, religious countries of the world, the Saudi Arabians of the world, the Chinese people of the world, even though those ones are not religion, they come up with stiffer sanctions. Like my brother said, you need to close your eyes for justice to be served. So all of these things, they draw people back. They draw us back as a nation. There is no movement. All is motion without movement because of all this attitude. It's worrisome, but there is hope in the horizon if we can just get back to the basics. And that basics is what? Federalism. True federalism.
Okay, true federalism. Okay. Well, still talking about corruption, since we are still analyzing the jail term placed on Faisal, the son of Maina, the former DG of Pensions Commission in Abuja. Now, we have had several cases where EFCC have taken people to court. Some, they have seized part of the money stolen. Some courts have actually frozen their accounts, and you have quite a number all over. And when you look at some of these figures, very humongous, and yet the federal government still want to borrow, then one begins to wonder, what are we making out of all this money that are being retrieved for, alleged corruption of Nigerians? But when we have jail terms being put on some people like this, will this also bring some kind of change? If at least we can get trickles of convictions like this.
You said trickles of confusions. Remember the last time we were mentioning the issue of budget? I said that some people should be made to return part of their looted funds.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you have just alluded to. A whole lot of ill-gotten wealth, humongous amounts in private pockets. If we can retrieve that, we will do wonders as a nation. But are we ready? Are we ready? If the kind of judgment we have now, I don't know how they came about 24 years now, 12 running concurrently and all of that. But it's just like a slap on the wrist, if you ask me. The judicial system needs to be overhauled so that you can give commensurate punishment, sanctions to whoever the court has found to be guilty of XYZ offenses. So if we continue to give this one out, particularly to somebody's son, who is not the first offender, I wonder where we are heading for.
Even I recall that the father, that's Maina himself, sometimes he had actually been convicted with an option of fine. And he just paid the money. It was taken to court.
Plea bargaining was part of the
that fine was even
very minimal. He was taken to court on charges of about 5 billion. They now find him maybe about 10 or 12, 15 million as option of fine. And the man just paid the money without... Now, the additional question I would like you to also respond to is that now, somebody had stolen public fund running into billions. Let's assume that, okay, 14 years has been placed on him. If he spends 14 years, he comes back and enjoys the money. I don't understand. Will that not be easy for somebody who is young? Just when he knew that even the money will continue to accumulate interest.
Yes, nothing.
Is this really putting any fear in anybody?
My brother said it. A lot of things should be overhauled in Nigeria. Honestly, we need a holistic approach to solving our problems. Even look at this, all these economic fighters institutions. Have they been fair? If somebody crosses to APC today, forget about whatever amount he might have stolen.
I don't know whether you've seen the video between Akpabio, Wike, and the vice president.
Vice president. So interesting.
I mean, it's just like they are doing a kind of mockery of all of us.
Well, let me tell you what happens. It is the masses that is, unfortunate. You know, those who rule Nigeria, they have a club.
Yeah. Whether in party A or
whether in
party
party
B
or
or
party,
party
forget
C.
about the party. They have clubs, so they know where they meet. They know where they meet, and they just laugh off. You will think Adifalako and Kennedy and the candidate who are fighting. We are not, but we abuse ourselves in the daylight only to be drinking champagne. And so they understand what is on the ground. They are the ones that are making Nigeria. They are making Nigeria. All this, the EFCC would look this way because Adeleye is with us. The moment Adeleye leaves our caucus, it becomes our enemy. And that still borders to the question of national interest. A lot of things, my brother, I don't see any light in the tunnel. I have lost hope. Seriously, I have lost hope.
Serious. Talking about
because
light.
nothing seems to work. Education is a shambles. Not just about a few weeks ago, one school collapsed in Yewa side, in Eko, killing one student. And where are we? And the question, there's another thing. The question of continuity in governance. If a government leaves, the other government just forgets about whatever that begins. This person is public money. This is public money.
That school, the state government has actually pulled the whole thing down and already commenced.
If that had not happened,
like you are reading my mind on what next I want us to discuss, and that has to do with education. And last Monday was Teachers' Day. Mr. Governor in the states here also made teachers laugh. Apart from giving very reasonable, how do I call it, appreciation to teachers. The best teacher in primary, in secondary, best administrator, all of them were well catered for. But beyond that, he also said the state government will be recruiting about 5,000 teachers to augment what we have. No doubt about it. The number of teachers in our public schools have been depleted as a result of retirement and this and that. The last administration, I don't really have the records of how many fresh teachers were taken during that term. But with this 5,000 to be recruited, I think. But let's just look at this Teachers' Day and the situation of teaching and teachers, across the country.
The packages that came with the Teachers' Day.
Well, that's in Ogun State too. I'm not too sure whether we have same package.
Talking about the national level.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Chegu, how do you see that? Why? Because I know you are one of those who are very passionate about public schools.
Exactly.
And you went to community school too.
Yes, we are here.
Most of us went to community school.
Yes, we are here.
Before the Teachers' Day issue, I think the governor did something that was worth commending when he first came on board.
Okay.
And I think it's part of his this Ishaya mantra, where he had to reabsorb the youths in that brackets who are taken by the middle pass administration.
Oh yeah, about 2,000 or thereabout.
It's commendable. You hardly see that anywhere. We are all here. We knew what used to be, and we saw that. So on that note, I think the governor has done well, and that is what he has taken to reflect on the 5,000 new teachers that we're talking about. As we speak, some schools don't have more than 2-3 teachers, and that is no exaggeration, particularly in the hinterland. You know the disadvantaged area of the state that I come from. So that
I don't know which department.
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. You get to know. You have schools there that don't have more than 3-4 teachers. And you have schools in the metropolis that have...
But don't also forget, because my experience in the past, when I had the opportunity of serving as Chief Monitoring Officer, you will see most of these teachers who are wives of top government officials, and they will put pressures. Who do you blame for that one? Okay, let me take Taoi's contribution, because we should be rounding up gradually. Yes, on this one. What's your own take on this present effort by the state government in addressing the public schools situation?
Like Shagu said, it's commendable, but we have to be altruistic.
Yeah,
to keep them working.
Okay.
It is not adequate. It is not enough.
Okay.
You see, when you are leading, we call you a leader because there are followers.
Yeah.
And the interest of the followers should be paramount. So we are talking about welfare. A happy teacher will be a productive teacher.
Yeah.
They are not happy in so many areas. That salary is too mega. I'm not speaking for, I'm not asking for a review. I'm just saying this.
No.
So what I mean is that
it's the minimum wage that every other government worker is being paid. Except you want to canvass for a special salary for teachers.
I am not even canvassing for that. I am saying that there could be other opportunities to obtain loan. Car loan, there were times when government do this. For all these loan things for them. But you talked about teachers and teaching. Abi, let's go to teaching now. That's my interest. There's a quotation. If you want to destroy a country, destroy its educational system. And that is what has gotten us to this stage. You see, when people say graduates are no longer, they are not, I say, go to primary school. Check them out in secondary school. It is what they produce at that level that come to higher institution. So the primary education, primary and secondary, should be taken very seriously. And I'm front at a development where somebody will say students should not fail. Why should they not fail? Why should we have automatic promotion?
Why do we also write exams?
Yeah, why do we write exams? Why do we write exams?
Okay, the last question from my side.
No, we won't take any last question. Our time is up already. I know that the issues that we discussed today are quite germane issues, and we can't exhaust it. Okay,
exactly.
We cannot. The time is there, and you can see all the signals coming left, right, and
exactly.
So let me just thank our guests in the house. One way or the other, you wrap out from my hand. You didn't want to answer questions. Don't worry. You won't get away with it.
You didn't. You just
because you are already asking questions.
Okay, next week I promise to answer questions.
All right.
Are you fine?
No problem. I'm fine. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Adefolakon, for sharing your thoughts with us on the program today. We enjoy your company, no doubt. And intermittently, we'll be having you here. We'll bring you veterans to come and discuss various topics on this show.
Hopefully when the roads are fixed.
I appreciate you. Thank
when
you.
the roads are fixed.
Well, you can see from when you are coming.
I did bring my car.
Because you are thinking of the old time. When you are going just right, you will see that work is already. Seriously.
You sounded somehow, sir.
I sounded somehow.
No, he was trying to.
Because we must have possibly had.
Let
me thank Shegun for also coming on the program.
Thank you.
And let me thank all those who are part of this maiden edition of Reporters Lunch. It will always get better. We're just starting. And we also have so many topics that we'll always be talking about. So I do have a splendid weekend. And let me also send greetings to all delegates from the states, to the Biennial, 7th Biennial Nigeria Union of Journalists holding presently in Mahia. We wish you a very beautiful stay there and a safe journey while you're coming. Until next week when we come your way again, I leave you in the hands of Almighty God. Bye-bye.